see, I must leave these ragworms. I've had an extraordinary summer. Really, personally thrilling has happened. This is... So Britain's a shit show. But this is just the gentle... The problem with the British is you can't say anything. They literally can't ever think beyond the literal of what you are putting out at that moment. And at that moment you may be distracted, you may be healthily tired from, I always get up early in the morning, so if by 5 o'clock in the evening I'm winding down. But so many times I have shared with people what I know to be true from many more European acquaintances over the last 40 years of my life, but especially last 10 years of my life, bizarrely, that I speak with Europeans. This pathway almost entirely is made up of your sort of thoughtful middle class people, by which I mean teachers. I mean, every other person I meet and speak with on this pathway is a teacher. And then people like social workers and roles like that. Or people that work in the environment. When I put into conversation parents or just other people connected to the reality of young people that I'm acquainted with in Britain, are continually worried about. It all comes down to psychological up and downiness, but I have my list. Now, people don't talk about the first one, but it is so corrosive and so common. It's become actually many 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old children know about this, and they use it as a weapon. False allegations, be it in school, be it if you're just overhearing them, if you're passing by them. Hey, we could shout out, he's a pervy, and then you have to give us our money. Yeah, that's a slightly theatricalised version, but it's very common. I don't speak with young children in Britain without a parent around. I made that rule about 5 or 6 years ago, and I had a ferret pen that prior to that always young children would be invited to and sometimes come to spend time with the ferrets. No. Yeah, so false allegations, the self-harming, the absolute explosion of mental health issues, which is fully there catalogued in the records, the drugs all over the place, hard drugs I mean, and this, if they smoke a bit of weed, but they don't, they smoke much stronger marijuana, it's just as bad, it drives you psycho and really messes with your developing brain circuits. And then these other things. Speak with Europeans. There's hardly any of this in Europe. That's a fact. Some British you speak with, and if you share that with them, they want to fight you when they know nothing. And if I were to ask them, exactly how many Europeans have you actually spoken with in the last 5 years? Basically, they're so absurdly narcissistic, and it's a kind of false patriotism. No, it's like my society's all rightism. Well, when actually categorically, and the data does back this up, that if you take the average across, let's just say the lower middle class, for example, across Europe, you will find far fewer of those issues. And people then say stupid things like, oh, that's because of their kind of Catholic history. I've never heard a European speak about religion, ever. You actually meet many more born-again evangelicals in Britain than in Europe. I've never heard a European ever. I tell a lie. One of maybe 50 Europeans that I actually knew in person and just somehow managed to just about keep in touch with or found again once Facebook came along and just reconnected. One, strangely, became a born-again Christian. But no, Europe gave up religion also. Yes. Britain really is a shit show. And, I mean, this is, an arrogance and narcissism. If you want to actually help society, if you want to help yourself. Now, okay, I'm not a bourgeois, but what does that mean? That almost sounds pretentious. All my adult life, it's like, I don't need to be anchored. I like a home just as much as anybody else. Love is an important thing that you can only really do, and certainly children, with some of the time, you've got a base. But to me, it could be anywhere. I need no anchor. I have no anchor. I've never had an anchor anywhere except wanting to be only a totally dedicated parent to a human being. So that, unfortunately, has anchored me in the shit show of a country. It's not decadent or dilettante being objectively aware of a truly terrible situation. And I meet many parents, English parents of youngsters, and if we get on well, which I can tell, okay, that's a bit of a self-selecting bunch. I wouldn't go and chat with chubbies. But if we get on well, I will say to them, I've got my various joke lines. If you love your kids, have them brought up in Europe. It is so much better for you. Anyway. And then, actually there was somebody on that phone there. Now, okay, I never use my phone to communicate with anybody when I'm walking, ever. I wouldn't dream of it. But it's extraordinary, even just walking, the amount of people that are on their phone. There you go, it's all lost. But it's not a shit show because of Boris Johnson or Keir Starmer or David Cameron. It's a shit show because the people the basic rules of life, particularly the basic rules of how to end up with the best, with a child who's as healthily the most healthy psychology we knew years ago. You've got to spend loads of time engaged with that child. Britain lost the plot years ago. The people. It's nothing to do with politics. It's the people. The end.